Ever since mankind has had the ability to fly, they've looked for various ways to control the sky. Only a few countries throughout time have had the technology to transport nuclear weapons through the air and drop them effectively.
From the most advanced stealth technology to the conventional bombers capable of precisely unleashing mass amounts of destruction upon unsuspecting victims, here are the most advanced bombers ever.
Number 9. The Tupolev Tu-22M3 Blackjack. This supersonic strategic bomber, built by the Russians, was designed by Tupolev Design Bureau in 1984. It's currently the heaviest and largest combat aircraft currently in use, and it's also the fastest. Capable of reaching Mach +2, this beast of engineering is capable of striking its target before they even hear the plane zoom by. The Soviets' goal to complete a supersonic strategic bomber was in full force during the late 1960s, and this was one of the results of their achievements. Their goal was to make it faster and more capable of delivering devastating bombing raids than the U.S. Air Force B-1 bomber. More modernized versions of the aircraft were tested by the Russians in 2005, integrating new technology such as the ability to launch nuclear cruise missiles, and they also upgraded their communication systems. You better believe this thing is proven on the battlefield as well. The supersonic bomber has carried out a record-setting 23-hour patrol along Russian borders around the Arctic Ocean and Pacific Ocean with a little help from midair refueling. It saw its combat debut in Syria not too long ago, launching conventional cruise missiles on enemy targets. Number 8. The Xian H-6 Bomber. With some help from the Soviet Union design of the Tu-16, the Chinese were able to develop their own twin-engine jet bomber. The first flight took place in 1958 and has been in active duty ever since. The US picked up spy satellite images of these advanced bombers in 1968, which helped them estimate that China had roughly 32 of them in operational use. As China began to gain nuclear strength, the CIA figured out that they were dropping nukes at the Lop Nur test site in the northwestern part of the Republic. Advancements of this aircraft were quite evident in January 2007 when modifications were made so they could fire cruise missiles. Something like this would pose huge threats to American aircraft carriers in the case of a surprise attack, and there would also be plenty of weapons for them to choose from. It's unclear exactly what the payload is, but it's capable of transporting nuclear weapons.
Today we have a special guest host with us from the channel World Unearthed, here to talk to us about a few different bomber aircraft.
Hey everyone, you know, it is really crazy to think about how powerful some of these strategic bombers can be. But let's take a look at some of the advanced technology from the UK from a few decades ago.
Number 7. The Avro Vulcan. The UK is known for their successful bombing campaigns during World War II using Lancaster bombers, but they kept up with advancing their bomber technology as the Cold War era had arrived. They learned quite a bit from German engineering and discovered how to replicate their advanced wind tunnels for research. The Avro Vulcan is a jet-powered, high-altitude strategic bomber that was in operational use from 1956 to 1984. This Vulcan bomber was considered to be the most advanced out of all the different V-class bombers produced by the UK. It was the first bomber to carry Britain's first nuclear weapon, known as the Blue Danube gravity bomb. Maybe some of those triangular UFOs people come into contact with could actually be something like this? Who knows?
Hey American Eye, I got a question for you. Do you think a drone could be considered a bomber aircraft? The drones at Creech Air Force Base are getting pretty advanced, to the point where bombers might not even need pilots anymore.
Well, considering that many drones are actually made for surveillance and are capable of launching air-to-ground attacks, I would say that drones can be classified as bombers. Let's take a look and let us know in the comment section.
Number 6. The Reaper drone. The Reaper drone has taken the role as the top go-to offensive drone used by the US military and different branches of government. What do you think is patrolling the skies around Area 51? You might be a little bit surprised to see this on the list, but the Predator drone is not quite as expensive, and this can really pack a lot of punch for the $12.5 million it costs to produce. This allows you to put eyes in the sky without having to risk the life of a well-trained pilot. It's now NATO's go-to recon aircraft with many advancements over the Predator. The payload is also much higher, with the capability of dropping up to 3,800 pounds of laser-guided missiles and bombs. The weaponized versions of these can deliver devastating bombing raids and can easily destroy large convoys of tanks.
Number 5.
B-52 Stratofortress. Developed by the U.S. Air Force in collaboration with NASA, the B-52 Stratofortress is basically built like a fortress that can fly through our stratosphere. Reaching speeds up to 650 miles an hour and altitudes of 50,000 feet, it can deliver a payload of 70,000 pounds. Its arsenal typically consists of a variety of laser-guided missiles, free-fall bombs, and cluster bombers. The B-52 lacks stealth capabilities but can strike just about anywhere in the world with 8,800 miles without refueling, and it was designed to drop nuclear bombs. The plane is also capable of a tactic known as terrain masking, trying to fly low enough to the point where mountains and geographical features can keep it off enemy radar. This strategy, of course, requires a skilled pilot and accurate global positioning systems.
Number 4. The C-130 Hercules. Not all aircraft out there have the capabilities of delivering the largest conventional bomb on the face of the planet, but the C-130 certainly pulled it off. Built by Lockheed Martin, this aircraft seems to be able to carry the most important cargo, including paratroopers and the mother of all bombs. It's technically listed as a Special Operations Transport Vehicle, but in 2017, its fury was unleashed when the Moab was dropped in Afghanistan. Roughly 30 feet long and 21,000 pounds, it was originally built in order to clear out wooded areas during the Vietnam War. The C-130 Hercules is also the longest continuously produced military aircraft for the past 60 years, and its ability to adapt to many situations and scenarios has helped it achieve that.
Number 3. Tupolev Tu-22M3. This aircraft has taken on the role of being one of Russia's main strategic bombers and has been a part of their navy since 1967. This was designed specifically with the goal in mind of taking out American aircraft carriers that Russia saw as a serious threat. The original Tupolev Tu-22s were built out of titanium, which maximized its efficiency. It's also quite battle-proven and has been used in many different Soviet conflicts, starting with the one in Afghanistan from 1987 to 1988. They began to notice some problems with the bomber planes, and it proved to be from faulty maintenance issues. More accurate weapon systems were installed in the early 2000s. With an arsenal such as precision strike, air-to-surface, and cruise missiles, it's easy to see how these can be intimidating to the enemies.
Number 2. The B-2 bombers. B-2 stealth bombers are some of the most sophisticated planes that the public knows about, and this project was shrouded in secrecy. The sleek, futuristic-looking aircraft was first tested in July 1989, and it was the first acknowledged aircraft to be able to completely avoid radar detection and carry air-to-surface weapons. Finally, Americans seem to have a stealthy version of the B-52 Stratofortress we mentioned earlier that could avoid enemy radar. There were a few planes that were produced that had similar shapes, but it wasn't until the end of the Cold War when it was finally perfected. It can also deploy thermonuclear weapons with a bomb payload of about 20 tons. In the 1980s and 1990s, it cost taxpayers an estimated $2 billion apiece, and we managed to build 20 of them. In any case, it's believed that no other country will be able to complete a task such as building something like this for years to come.
Before we get to our most advanced bomber aircraft, you have to wonder what other secret aircraft is out there that the government isn't telling us about.
Yeah, you know, it's really hard to find out what exactly is going on at secret Air Force bases like Area 51. The government succeeded in keeping the B-2 bomber top secret for about 20 years before info began to leak out.
Good point. This next one is still pretty advanced. Let's see what it is.
Number 1. B-1B Lancer. Developed by the Boeing Defense and Space Group, this long-range strategic bomber has the current record for the largest internal payload of any bomber by any Air Force. This became operational in 1986 and is expected to be in service at least until 2025. One of the craziest things about this bomber is that it can actually run on synthetic fuel and reach supersonic speeds while doing so. The synthetic fuels are not only cleaner but less expensive, about $30 to $50 less per barrel. Just a slight decrease in fuel costs can save hundreds of millions of dollars. It's considered to be the backbone of the U.S. Bomber Air Force and can unleash 75,000 pounds of bombs upon any enemy around the world. With 30,000 pounds of thrust per engine, it can reach speeds of Mach 1.2. The B-1A was able to reach speeds of Mach 2, but it was determined that payload capacity was the ultimate goal. Capable of both guided and unguided munitions, it's ready to take on just about any target it has its crosshairs on.
The B-1B is just a small part of the black budget of the US government. You won't believe some of the top secret projects the Department of Defense has worked on. Jump into the world of abandoned and declassified black projects on my channel, World on Earth. See you there.